What's good, YouTube? Patrick Filman for Luxury Gaming here. I'm here with Paulie, the GOAT Arasan, coming off a second place finish. Almost won 2 YCSs in 1 year. Insane year for you. You got 2 prize cards, 2 fucking prize cards this year. Holy shit. Any shout outs you want to give before we head to deck pile?
First shout out to Brad. Brad's the homie. Brad's insane. We, as usual, built the deck together. I do most of my testing with him. He's insane. We're gonna be hitting Vegas next year, so
let's go. That's
gonna be, I think, his first IRL YCS. But anyway, shout out to Brad. Shout out to my team, Luxury Gaming. We did insane this weekend. We had I think we had 5 players in Top Cut.
It was a Luxury Gaming finals.
Yep. And me and Raph played in top 8. So yeah, and then shout out to just all my friends who support me, and yeah, it was an awesome week and an awesome tournament. So,
all right, well, let's get into the list. I figured you should play. Tell me what you played and why'd you play it.
Tearlament Ishizu. There was some people were asking me, is it true you played pure Tearlament? Because I guess Konami put on the blog that Jesse was playing Tearlament Ishizu and that Paulie was playing it just said Tearlament. So I got asked by some people if I played pure. I did not play pure. It's not a thing. I played a very, very standard list actually of Tearlament Ishizu. I generally like very standard builds. I don't like playing crazy weird blowout cards or volatile cards that could be consistent. So I played a very, very streamlined list. I'll get into it and I'll talk about what I did. So 3 Merly, 3 Havness, 3 Sharian, 2 Rhino, 3, 3, 3, 1. Some people did not like playing Agito in this deck currently. I should point out one of the things I did not play any Orange Light in the main. That was kind of the biggest, I feel deck building decision I was trying to make going into the tournament, where the reason I didn't play Orange, so it's very, very good in all matchups except for the Mirror, in my opinion. All of the other relevant matchups right now, Flender, Sprite. In the Mirror specifically, a lot of people think Orange is good. It is. It's a solid card all around. It's very solid in the Mirror, but I realized that a lot of games going second, in the Mirror, Tearlament naturally chain blocks, such that there's a lot of situations where you don't get to actually Orange Light them until relatively deep into the turn. So if they just start with Sharian, discard any name, and then mill either Scream or Sulik, then it's gonna be name chain 1, Scream chain 2. You can't Orange there. You can't Orange on the Kit first effect, because then they're going to mill 5. You have to let them go, the first point at which you can effectively Orange them is when they've literally gone mill 8 off of Merly Kit Cal. So at that point, they're already playing, they're already starting to resolve a bunch of effects, they've already resolved effects, and, it's just awkward and, inefficient at that point to Orange them. Plus, if they've already milled 8, they very likely already have a Shuffler engraved, so when you Orange them, you're going to go -1, because whatever you discarded, if you discard a Shuffler, it's going to get shuffled back, or even if you discard a mill 5 and you want to try to mill 5, that'll trigger. But, at that point, they've already, then they'll just already have a Shuffler engraved. It's just awkward. It's a lot more effective if you can just Orange them early, and you can't always do that in the Mirror. So going second, I realized there were a lot of games because of that where Orange just wasn't that great. Going first in the Mirror, it's good because, you can Orange a Bisted, which, seems really good because, one of the biggest issues in the Mirror is, countering the Bisteds, because they're by far the most, effective counter cards going second. And one of the only good counters to that counter is Orange Light, to be able to, Orange Light a Bisted going first. Because, other cards like Bell and Crossout Designator, you can negate a Bisted with them, but, the Bisted still physically stays in their hand. So next turn, they're already going, you at -1, they still have that card to use as an interrupt on their turn next turn. So Orange is, the only one that physically destroys the monster, which is especially good if it's Magma, because then you can, Dark Charm it. But, I found a lot of those games, especially if it's not Magnemite, after you Orange the Bisted, it has the same issue as Bell. If they have a second Bisted after that, you tend to lose those games. Because, I think it's because, you're down a card already. If you start a Miller, you don't want to mill if you're going, you usually don't want to use your Millers going first in the Mirror. So, you're down 1, and then, it just, I don't know, you'd rather have those be, other cards to play. I don't know, it's not bad, but, I just felt in testing, the Orange just consistently felt awkward, and I consistently wasn't winning the games where I opened Orange in the Mirror.
Did you think that it being able to stop a Abyss Dweller was important enough, or
I think being able to stop Abyss Dweller is one of the best uses for Orange in the Mirror. That's the other argument. You can argue you can just hold it. You just hold it, and then until they eventually Dweller. But then there's the issue of well, sometimes they can crime Orange if you do it on your turn. If they do it on your turn, sometimes if they use Dweller on their turn because they want to detach Rhino to get. Sometimes you just Dweller on your turn even if they already have this, just because you need to get a material to grave to fuse Rhino to grave to fuse with or something. So sometimes they'll Dweller on turn 0 and you can Orange it, and that's kind of good. But if it's on your turn when you're Oranging the Dweller, then they can just crime it. And I don't know, they already have like the rest of their board. I do think orange on dweller is solid, and it's a decent, it's not a horrible card in there. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. Like, it definitely generally gets, like, it at least makes a trade and gets some value generally. But I just felt like the fact that it wasn't super crazy in the mirror, kind of like weighted to the fact that like it's inherently inconsistent card, because there are some set of games where like you open it without another fairy and it's just a dead card. I felt like if we're gonna be playing a card that like is dead some percentage of the time completely, that has to be a very high impact card to justify playing. And so it's like it's not high impact enough to justify like its potential brickiness, basically, is the short answer.
Okay.
I do feel in all the other matchups it's like it is like really good, just because it's like Gamma. It's like arguably probably what it does is like the best hand trap just in general. So like I sided 3 for the non-mirrors, but I didn't main them. So, and I think that was probably like the most important decision as to why like I feel like my deck did really good on all the mirrors and just was very consistent this weekend. But yeah, going back to what I did play, so a lot of people who were not playing orange didn't play Agido, just because like you're not really like the only real reason you have to play is because like you want to keep your fairy count high enough for orange. It's like aside from that, you're not trying to mill in the mirror, so you don't really need to play this. Kelbeck's a good one no matter what, because it's a really good hand trap in the mirror at least. But Agido is like not. But I still personally I very much like the hand effect of Agido. Like there are games where like sometimes you do want to go like Keldo search Agido. Like if you open like Keldo Kelbeck and you go discard Kelbeck for Keldo, you can search Agido, make them mill, and then like summon Agido. Just going to a little bit side point on like milling in the mirror. You generally don't want to mill in the mirror because like if you mill, like on average, what's going to happen is you're both likely to hit at least one shuffler, and as long as you both hit at least one shuffler, whatever you mill, it just trades, right? Because if you each hit like one name, you each hit one shuffler, you shuffle each other's names, they're not going to resolve. If you hit multiple shufflers, you're shuffling back, they're going to shuffle back the multiples, and you're still going to end up with nothing. The only difference is like the only thing is like if one of you mills like a Celic or a Scream, that's where like you obviously can plus like a trigger, an immediate trigger effect, that you can't like shuffle back. So like it's volatile because like your opponent could hit Celic and you might not. So like you generally don't want to mill because like the net value is 0, but you do run the risk of like them milling like a Celic or something and you not. So you generally use the millers if you're behind, because then like just in general in Yu-Gi-Oh, like if you're behind is when you have to like do like riskier plays or take chances. Like if you're already up, then like you don't want to add variance. If you're down, you want to add variance because you want to put yourself on like the potential of like milling better than them and getting you got to put yourself on getting lucky basically. So you generally when you're going second, like if you discard one of these for orange, like that's when you mill. It's like when turn 0, if you're the player going second, you generally want to mill. It turn 0 if you're the player going first, you don't want to mill. But like I said, so like I was gonna say, sometimes you'll make an exception where like if you open Keldo Kelbeck, you can search Agido, summon it immediately, get like a +1, and that's like kind of cool. So unless they shuffle her back, you're like if you only have one Earth Engrave, and they use their shuffler to put that back. But anyway, I did that a couple times during the tournament, but I like to have the one Agido just to have the option to like do the reborn play if you want, and also like against any non-mirror, just having both names that can mill is like really important. Like you have to play at least one just so you can access like both mills. Like a lot of times like you resolve, if you're resolving one, you oftentimes resolve both. So in the non-mirrors, it's just good because you just mill. Milling's just insane in the non-mirror. Sometimes against Sprite, like it's rough if you mill an Angler, but generally you're still gonna get far more value than they are off of that. So all right, for Bestials, 3 Magnemite, 3 Jerusalem, 2 Saronir. Okay, so consistently in the mirror, the whole format, like basically since these cards have come out, these have been just the most effective non-engine cards in the mirror. A big part of winning the mirror going second is just like establishing bodies like on their turn, so that on your turn, like if they dweller you or if they have interrupts, you already have physical like bodies on board that you can like either go straight to battle and threaten with, or just already have link material on board. So like the fact that they're a crow and their bodies and they have extra effects is just insane. These are just far better in my opinion than like any board breaker or any other hand trap in the mirror. The only reason I don't play 9, which a lot of people do, is just like I'm generally very averse in deck building to. I try to minimize the number of like 3 of OPT cards I can play. Like I think in general.
OTP, what is that?
OPT is in like once per turn name.
Oh, okay.
Like cards that you can only use this effect once per turn. So like if you open multiples, you can only use one, because it just adds like brick like the potential to brick. The odds of opening it doesn't change. It's a marginal difference. It's like 5% when you go from like 2 to 3 of opening doubles. But like what was I gonna say? But like when you're playing multiple 3-0s, it adds up to where like Drytron. There's a point in Drytron last year where you had like I think it was like a 40% chance of opening at least one like double of like a OPT card, and that's just like I try to minimize like 3-0s as much as I can, unless it's like a very high impact card. I think like generally the rule should be like, if a card's high enough impact, then you obviously you play 3 of it. We always have, right? But if a card's like medium impact, like cards like I try to avoid. I try to like play 2 ofs if I can and like avoid playing too many 3 ofs of like medium impact OPTs. So basically for the Bistids, because there's only 3 physical names, it's like you already have 2 that you're playing 3 of, and like I just didn't want to have like another 3 of like, and these 2 are like arguably like good enough that like high enough impact that it's worth playing 3, like I just said. But like Sarner's like not.
Yeah, so Sarner doesn't do anything.
If there was a 4th name, I'd be playing at least 10 in the main, 100%. But 100%, but there's not. So. Something I am actually considering testing is testing like a ratio of like 3-2 of like 3-3 2-2 with 2 Lubellians in the main, because like searching like Lubellian off of Magnemite at the end phase and being able to search another Magnemite next turn is like really good. So that's something I'm looking to testing. But yeah, so that's it for the Bistils.
Before we get to the rest, how did you like them against rogue matchups?
Yeah, good point. So the Bistils, obviously, like the risk to running this many, whether it's 8 or 9, is like. In the non-mirrors, they can be really awkward. They're like terrible, borderline dead extenders against Flu. Like against Flu, these are horrendous. If you're going second, they're going to be completely dead to Barrier Statue. And then if you're going first, they're just like a blank token summon. So, except for Magnemite. So, like, they're not great in other matchups. But, like, and then against Sprite, like, if they just start with Gigantic and go, like, before they put a Layer Dark Engrave, they just go summon Gigantic effect, then there's no point during that turn 1 where you can even summon them. So like that, even if you have Magma, you can't even summon it turn 0. So like these are, but like usually in Sprite, they usually go into like the Sprint Angler play. So they almost always have a Light or Dark Engrave before they Gigantic against like that build, the Angler build. So like it's not horrible against them. You can at least summon the bodies, and then on your turn you already have bodies on board. And if you summon Magma, you have another one. So it's not terrible against Sprite, but they're definitely not great. I felt there were so many the mirror is so prevalent that like I just think you want to just build your main for the mirror as much as you can, at least this format. And so, no, I have no regrets about this. I did play non-mirrors. I think I played 5 non-mirrors throughout the weekend. I think I played 9 mirrors and 5 other matchups throughout the weekend. But it was, I have no regrets with the visit. They were solid. Against Sprite, like, they're okay. It was worth it. For the spells, 3 field spell, 1 terraforming, 1 instant, standard.
How is that still legal?
Heartbeat, 2 Scream. Heartbeat and Scream, I felt like Costa Rica would be a more rogue heavy like tournament, just because like I feel like rogue is more popular in like I don't know like areas outside North America. So like I wanted to have at least one of these. Even in North America, I would still want main 1 Heartbeat. Like if I could go back and like change my list for Pasadena, just because like you don't have to lose. Like I feel like just against like the random mind decks or against Flunder. A lot of times against Flunder turn 0, especially if they're on a mind build, like you sometimes like make kit on their turn and search. This is what you search this off kit instead of making Stapelio. Like if they already have like if it looks like they already have like map up or they have extenders, like you'd rather like the Stapelio isn't really effective, so it's better to just literally like search off kit going into your turn. And this is sometimes the best card to search. You either hit like the trap on standby phase, or if they like that way if they like turn 0 mine you can like Heartbeat. Have Heartbeat in your hand at least. So I wanted to have this in my main. It never came up throughout the weekend. I never outed a mine with it game 1. I don't think I even resolved this card game 1 at all, except for like maybe a few like against a few like random things, or maybe I think I said it once and then popped it with my own field spell to add back Sulik. But like yeah, this ended up not being needed in the main, but I'd probably still main it again over again if I could, just because you like in another tournament like reset, I could randomly play against a mine deck or something.
Even with mine banned.
No, I'm talking about like for that tournament.
Oh, okay.
Now that mine's banned, I definitely don't main this.
Okay.
2 Scream. I was playing 1 for a while just because you have to play at least ones that when the play comes up where you go like when you already use all your names and you field spell up and your 3rd fusion summon is Kaleido, you can pop your own Kaleido and it gives you another really high value thing to send off Kaleido, and you go like send search sell like reborn Kaleido, then you have the full board. So just like to send off Kaleido, you want to play at least 1. But it's such a good mill, and especially because like there are a lot of situations where people are like resolving the mill 5, especially like if they're going second and they orange you and then they want to resolve their mill 5, or if they hit a mill 5 off of halfness, they're good. Whoever's going the player going second is going to use it turn 0. There's just like so much milling. Like so if you're going second, like it just gives you another card to mill off your miller, or like or if you're mill 8, it just gives you, it's just like there's such a good high chance you'll mill it if you're playing 2, like when you're milling 11 turn 1 generally. So like, and that's without using the mill 5s. So I just wanted to play like more of this in Sulik. I even thought about playing 3 Sulik, but I know some people who did, but it was Sulik's a little bit too bricky to play 3, so I played 2, still 2-2. And then the last card, 2 Tactics. Tactics, in my opinion, is the best non-engine right now in the mirror. Like it's a going first card too. Like going first, this is like one of the only effective, like there's very few effective ways to deal with the Bistils when you're going first, and the Bistils are the most important thing to have to deal with when you're going first. There's Bell, obviously. There's Cross Designator in theory, but that's a bad card. Right now. There's, even though I love it, but there's Bell, there's Orange Light, but like I said, even Orange Light isn't great when you have to hit a Bisted, but this, is really good, because, you can either look at their hand, and then if they've second Bisted, you just take it, you clear it, put it back in the deck, or you can take their Bisted that they summoned and overlay into, Beatrice, which is really, a really, really solid turn 1 card, especially in, a grind state, if, they've stopped your full combo. So, Tactics really going first, and then going second. There's so many games where, you play through their stuff, and then randomly, just Tactics them, and, take, it's such a good card if it doesn't get negated. It usually, deals with at least 2 things with one, because either you can attack or something, or you can take something that turns something out, that you take their last tear and, turn Sullick off. Take Rukal, turn off Sullick, that's come up before. It's just a really good versatile card. And in non-mirrors, it's also one of your Avermax outs, which is one of the scariest cards for this deck. And, it's the only, it's one of the only Avermax outs in the whole deck. So, I wanted to have a few Avermax outs between my main and side. And then, yeah, it's just a good card in general, and it's good for, non-mirrors. So, it kind of, because all these Bisteds are, so not good in the non-mirrors, at least this gives you a card that, is, good in the non-mirror. Only playing 2 for the same reason as I said with Saronir. I just try to avoid playing as many, I try to avoid playing 3 of OPT cards as much as possible. I think Tactics is, especially bad if at 3, especially going first, because, it's a card that naturally, you're trying to beat them by grinding, right? You're playing card advantage game. You're either, you're if they hand trap you, and then you're tacticing, their second hand trap, or you're taking their monster, it's not, it enables you to just blow them out. You're still playing, that's, inherently a very, close, grindy situation, right? So it's, opening 2 tactics, then you're probably not going to get there. If they open double Bisted, you might be able to get there by putting back the second one and continuing to play. But if you open 2, and they just them resolving the first one successfully, then you tactics, you're probably not still getting there with your last 1 or 2 cards. So I do not want to open 2 tactics, so I don't play 3, I only play 2. Yeah, and that's it for the main.
How many cards is it?
41. Because of the millers and just the nature of milling, you want to stick to as low of a card count as you can, just to to maximize your chance of milling the good things. You guys know, in general, I'm very much not opposed to playing 60 card decks or anywhere between 40 and 60. But this format, because of the milling mechanic, you want to stick close to 40 as you can. 41 just makes it a little bit easier to side, which I really like. So I feel 1 card's marginal, it's not that bad. So I like to go to 41 right now. Side deck, 2 Bell, 3 Imperm. This was my side for the mirror all weekend. I put these 5 cards in going second. I would usually take out, 1 Sullick, both Scream, Heartbeat, and then, Agito. Because Agito going second in the mirror is just absolutely useless. And then, so, I was originally, the way I built the side was, so first off, I sided orange for the non-mirrors, like I said earlier. But I've had the side built, and I was wait, the way the patterns lined up, to take out the number of cards I wanted to take out, I had to put the oranges back in the mirror. And I was well, that defeats, that, counters the whole purpose of not meaning the oranges. So I fixed the side to where, I had enough cards to put in for the mirror without having to put orange in. So it's these, this card is really good in the mirror. Hitting Kit just completely nullifies, it stops all 3 effects of Kit for the turn. It's it's almost more than 1 stop in one. It's so good. And I think I played, multiple people on day 2 who were also playing either Imperm or Veiler. So, in that sense, I feel it had, a high success rate this weekend. I definitely, think this is a good card. The downside to it is, when you Imperm Kit, if they already have Sullick, which, it's usually 2 of, and there's, the chance of them milling Scream off of Sharing or whatever, there's a decent chance they'll already have Sullick, and if they already have Sullick ending on Sullick Kit, is, kind of solid. So, now they're still getting value back off that Kit, because they're going to get to mill 5 on your turn, so it doesn't actually get, the full value if they open Sullick, and, you still have to now play through, that mill 5. So, I don't know, all the people I talked to who also played it really liked it this weekend. I resolved it several times, and it was good, but I almost feel I'm not sure, I'm not sure if it's correct, just because of the Sullick issue. I think it's still correct to play, but I might almost start using it on, the Rhino or the Merly normal, if I open it with, multiple, other hand traps. But anyway, yeah.
Couldn't it stop Dweller since everyone shotguns in standby?
Yes, but so the issue with that is, you almost always have at least 1 or 2 monsters on board at the end of their first turn, because you play with 8 Bisteds, 3 Kalbucks, and 3 Havnesses, most of your hand traps summon monsters, so you almost always have a field already at the start of your turn, to where, you won't be able to Imperm because you have cards on the field when they Dweller. So it's the same reason why, that's the other issue with Imperm right now. It's a really bad 6, it's for the first time since this card came out, it's almost always a dead draw as the 6th card, which was traditionally the benefit to this over other hand traps, was that if you draw as your 6th card, it's live. It's not now because of the summon hand traps. So that's that's why some people were playing Veiler instead of this. That was one of the reasons. But anyway, yeah, so Imperm's, but it's good. And then the other reason is it has double coverage versus you can physically put it in versus almost any deck. So it's by having this in your side, it makes your side patterns a lot more efficient. This goes in versus Flu, Sprite, etc. than the bells. Bells are really cool because, like, you can negate Bistids if you want, although, like I said, you generally don't want to negate Bistids because, like, they still keep the card in their hands, in which they can then use as a stop on their turn, so you technically go, like, -1. It's strictly a tempo card at that point, so I don't like using it on Bistids unless you, like, you're probably going to lose most of the games where you use this on a Bistid, unless they opened, like, just that one hand trap, or you opened, like, really good. So, it's more so for, like, it obviously trades with any name, any Terra name engraved, although it has the same issue with orange of, like, it can be chain blocked, but it also can be used on the shufflers, and that's the main reason why Bell was, like, went back in people's decks for, like, this event in Pasadena, because, like, it can negate the shufflers. So sometimes when you, like, it makes the mill 5s actually, like, a lot more viable in the mirror, because when someone goes mill 5 and you both mill 5, and like I said before, the whole dynamic is, like, you're both going to likely hit at least one shuffler, and then you're just going to shuffle each other's stuff, and no one's going to resolve anything. If one player has a Bell, and they Bell the opponent's shuffler, well then, unless the opponent milled both shufflers, now whoever belled, like, however many names you milled, like, you're going to get to resolve that. Or shufflers you milled, if you can keep that engraved now. So, like, using this on a shuffler, especially on, like, a mill 5 resolution, is, like, really impactful. Yeah, it was really good in testing. I don't think I resolved it in the tournament. Like, I drew it a couple times, and, like, I drew it with, like, other hand traps, and, like, I think I ended up using it as, like, a Shireen discard. I drew it as my 6th card one time, too. I don't know. It didn't come up that much in the tournament, but in testing it was really good. And then, for the rest of the side, 1 Tactics. So, as I said, I'm very averse to playing 3 of OPTs. This was the 15th card. I had 14 cards in my side, and I had 1 space open after I finished, like, doing the siding patterns, and there was, like, 10 minutes left before deck lists were due, and I was like, I need to play 1 more card. So, it was either, like, this or, like, 1 Droplet, or, like, a Set Rotation was the other card I considered, because Set Rotation is really good against Mind decks and against Flunder, because it clears mine and makes it so that they can't activate Map as long as your field spell is still set. But I ended up going with the 3rd Tactics just because I was like, it's the most versatile card I can play. I needed, for my fighting patterns, I think I needed 1 more card for 2nd versus Flu, and 1 more card for 1st versus Sprite. And I was like, okay, well, Tactics fulfills both of those criteria, so, like, this is fine for the 15th card. And, I was like, hopefully I just don't have to put it in that much, but if I do play Sprite and I'm going 1st, I'll put it in. You know, hopefully I don't draw 2. Hopefully if it only happens a couple times throughout the tournament, like, hopefully I won't draw multiples during that, like, small set of games. So, I went with it. I put it in going 1st, like, I think, against Sprite in top 4, and I don't think I opened it, but anyway. 1 Crime. I don't like to main Crime because it is a brick going 2nd. You don't get any value generally if you discard it early game off of, like, Rhino or Heartbeat or anything. So it's like, it's usually just a brick going 2nd. It's great going 1st, and, like, sometimes you can make the argument because I'm playing Heartbeat and 2 Scream in the main, it's a lot more worth it to main this just to have, like, a 2nd trap name to search into. But I felt like it was fine the way it was. Like, that doesn't happen too much, and usually, like, if you're already making a good board turn 1 going 1st, like, Select, like, enough. It's only really needed versus, like, if you play against, like, a Mind deck that plays, like, a lot of go 2nd cards, and, like, they play through your Baron, or they play through your, like, obviously, like, I don't know, for, like, Mind and stuff, like, it can be needed, but I have Heartbeat in the main, and then, like, no one's really maining evenly, so I didn't feel like this was, like, needed in the main, but I do like having it in the side for going, just whenever you go 1st, it's just a great card, then it's, like, awesome if you know you're going 1st, because, like, you oftentimes can get to Crime and Select turn 1 because of, like, the screams and everything. And just also, especially important against, like I said, decks that play, like, Mines or, like, board breaker cards, so Crime in the side. 2 Banshee, 2 Zombie World for Flunder. These are really good. Banshee's weird because it's okay. So going 1st, they're going 1st, just having this many copies in your deck, you're almost definitely going to win going 1st because, like, you're usually milling 11 turn 1. If you're playing against Flunder, you can mill theoretically up to 21 because there's no downside to milling against them. So, like, you're almost definitely going to hit this turn 1. And then, like, they're going to have to deal with, like, your established board and your Zombie World. And the way I have the deck built post side is, like, I can make Baron and I can set up Baron and Crime turn 1 easily. And also then if, like, you just have Zombie Worlds, like, they're just not beating that. Going 2nd, Banshee's really cool because, like, with the millers, it's like if you open orange or and like I said, orange goes in for the non-mirrors, like orange or Havness, and you hit like a miller, there's a lot of ways to like hit this turn 0 and then just like Zombie World on their turn before they even like literally interrupting their combo, and then they just can't finish their turn. And unless they hard opened like a Cosmic they sided in going 1st, there's almost no out to this. So that's really good. The downside to Banshee is like going 2nd. It's very hard to utilize if you open it because like you have to normal it, and like your normal, like, I don't know, it's just hard to get out of your hand when you're going 2nd. Like, you usually, like, this doesn't really help. Like, you can normal it and get Zombie World, and then it's, like, pass. Because they already have statue up at that point, and, like, all the stuff set up, so it's, like, you can't really, like, play if you're normaling this. And then, like, on their turn, Flunder plays an out. They play, like, there's a rank 1, whatchamacallit, I forget what archetype it's from, but there's a rank 1 Lyrillist, I think a Lyrillist card that can shuffle any spell trap into the deck. So like they have a zombie world out to where like if you zombie world you have to apply a board afterwards, because like, and it's difficult because you can't make kit under this. You have to use like fuse from hand because your backlist becomes zombies, so you can't make kit. And like, I don't know, sometimes I just felt like if you open the zombie world hard, it's okay, but if you open the Banshee hard 1 second, it's iffy. So like I split it 2-2 just because like it's Banshees. It's really great if you mill. It's really not good or not great if you draw it going second. 3 orange light. Like I said, for any non-mirror, it's just a great card to have, especially if you discard a miller for it. And like, because milling to 5 turn 0 when they're not playing Tear is just awesome because you have so many more good things to hit off of a mill than they do. Discarding Shuffler just gives you a second interrupt. Like, this card's so good. And then, and it's one of the only cards that negates Shifter, which is like really crucial. And then Scattershot. I am proud to say I did not resolve this card this weekend. I only went to time 2 times this weekend. Let's go. Let's go. It was against Jesse where I lost. I was down in life, and but he was gonna win that game anyway. And against I think against my round 8 opponent, I was up in life, but didn't resolve the Scattershot at all this weekend. Only went to time twice, like I said. I feel like the way that Mirror is now, it's like, I don't know. You don't go to time quite as much as you did like pre-Ishizu, and I feel like there's a lot of other players who I've talked to over the past 2 weeks who've like agreed with that. Like, I know there were a lot more players who didn't play this card at all this weekend than there was at Pasadena, but which is good. Like, I think in general, like, this is such an like it's the game's much healthier if we're not all siding time cards. For the extra, Kit, Kaleido, Rukal, Garura, Mudragon, Stapelio, standard. But yeah, and then yeah, for links it was Dark Charmer, Elf, Sprint. A lot of people are talking about cutting Elf right now, but I still like it a lot. And then Baron, this probably was technically not correct just because like I'm not maining the orange, so like you could argue that like it's only for like it's only for like going first in the matchups where I'm siding in orange, like the non-mirrors. So it's only for like 1 game of the match and only in the non-mirror. It was probably mathematically incorrect to play this, but like in testing for last month where I was playing orange, I just love this card so much. Like, just going first, I went Elf, Reborn, Orange, make this with Rukal and Orange, like almost every game going first for the past month. Like in almost every matchup, almost every game, until I cut the oranges. And I just like, I don't know, I wanted to keep playing it. It was good. I definitely made it a couple times this weekend.
Okay, because I was about to say, because you weren't playing, you said you're only out to Avermax was
yes, this is also the only Avermax out in the entire main side and extra.
Wait,
except for Tactics. Yeah, because you can crash it and then the mandatory attack boost effect triggers, and then it negates this, and then they crash.
Okay, because I see some MotoGP players playing Boreal Dragon to specifically out that card.
Yeah,
and I was wondering like if that's worth.
We tested a lot of Link 4s for Pasadena, and we found that like the most of the time if they're making Avermax, it's usually the Sprite Tear decks that make it. And Sprite Tear usually has a Smashers behind it. And it was like, okay, it was very hard to like play through Smashers and make a Link 4 and then out the Avermax. So we're like, okay, we're probably just losing those games anyway. Really, like, you kind of have to have like just a non-engine like Tactics or Dark Ruler to out it. But Baron can sometimes get there. But anyway, so that's, yeah. Then for Xyz, Time Thief, Baguska, Zeus, Beatrice, Dweller. These are the most important cards going second in the mirror. This is one of the most important cards going first in the mirror. Beatrice is a really just great card. You make it with like Garura and Abyssid, like Dark Charmer, they're Bisted, make it. Tactics, they're Bisted, make it with that. Like, it's so good. Take their Bisted, in other words. Beatrice is a great card. And then yeah, Baguska's like great. A lot of times in the mirror, it's funny, like sometimes when you have like a really bad hand and they double Bisted you or like Bisted you and like hand trap you and they stop you. If you're just ending on a rank 4, sometimes just making Baguska is better than just making Dweller in the mirror. Like, when you end on just Dweller in the mirror, you almost always lose. But just Baguska, like, if they didn't open Druid's Worm, this can oftentimes actually get there. And then next turn, you can, like, make a Zeus and, like, potentially, like, if you can draw out of, like, your situation, you can play your next turn. So sometimes in the mirror, making this is, like, actually, like, solid. Ironically. And then, of course, in all the other matchups, it's, like, against, like, the counter decks, like, Exo and Flu, this is really good. So this is a great card. And then, what was the last one? Oh, yeah, Time Thief. This is my 15th card. Time Thief's like, I wasn't playing it for most of the month, and then I put it in last week, and it's definitely come up a lot. I was playing Wallow before this. This definitely came up way more than Wallow. And arguably, the Baron probably could have been Wallow, but I played Wallow for like a week, and I never made it a single time. So I was just like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Baron and the Time Thief. And yeah, this is for like when you get like hit with like a double Bisted, and you just have like a sharing number with another 4. You can at least like make this and then like fuse on their turn. It's cool. And then this card always threatens Zeus on turn 2 because like it comes back, and then you can always take any blank off their top deck, and then like. It's like that's 2 materials, so they threaten Zeus. So Time Thief, like even like after the first turn, like this card has like lingering value. Yeah, so that is the deck. I think the format is really, really good. I think like this is like as the complexity of card design has increased, like the game has just become so like complicated to where like it really rewards the player who's put more time in, just practicing and testing. And I think that's like it's almost gone a little too far to the point where like it's created something of like a barrier to entry to like new players. Like on top of the barrier to entry that already exists off of just like the prohibitive cost of the game and like that, it's also like become so complicated. It's probably creates something of, like I said, like a significant barrier to entry to new players, which is probably a problem. But like
you think it's a problem, but then League of Legends is the most popular game in the world, so who can say?
I'm not super familiar with other card games.
It's an insanely complicated action game.
But yeah, like I think, but like as terms of like for skillful play, like I think the game's such a good point, like because of how complicated it's like it is very skillful, and like I think the fact that like we've seen like Jesse has just made finals at top 4 at like the last 4 YCSs or something like that, and like seeing great players like Hani and Chris just like win the last 2 events, I think like I don't know. And I think like it really shows like the game's at a really good point in terms of just skillful play. And it sucks that time kind of ruins that somewhat, but I feel like right now it's not as bad as it was for Minnesota. For some reason, I think some of these Shizus make the games like they don't actually counterintuitively they actually don't last quite as long as they were like before these Shizus came out, but certainly still makes for some very complicated long game states though when you're trying to resolve your like 15 link chains and stuff. I heard someone did a tag duel this weekend. There was like a tag duel side event, and I'm just like, how are you doing tag duels like 4-player games with like a Shizu mirrors? Like what are you on, like chain link 16 or whatever? So that was kind of funny to me. But anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I think like it's a really cool format. I'm gonna be playing pretty much the same deck. Well, probably not exactly the same, but I'm testing some new things. But I'll be playing Ishizu Terra for the Remote Duel YCS in 2 weeks. I think this is the first North American Remote Duel YCS since the February one, which is where I got my first place. So I'm going to be trying to run it back, and I'm looking forward to that event. And then all the events to come after that. And this was a good weekend. Had a ton of fun in Costa Rica. The trip was awesome. Shout out to all the boys. We had a great time. Shout out to everyone and all the awesome guys in Costa Rica who I met. Everyone was like super friendly down there, super helpful. And yeah, the people were awesome. The country was awesome. It was really, really fun event, really fun trip.
Okay, so I guess what better way to wrap this up by telling them about the incident?
Oh yeah,
because your victory came at great cost.
I literally was gonna just not do that, but yeah. Oh, while I was playing in Top Cut of like the of day 2, yeah, like top 8 or whatever, a water bottle opened up in my backpack, and every card I had like on me for the current format that's not my deck just got completely destroyed. So now I just have this massive pile of pancakes. Yeah, it was really cool.
Look at all those tacos.
Yeah. I had like my original Print Prosperities, like original Nibiru's, I had like 2 Secret Ashes over here, like just Secret Design.
Oh god.
It was literally like everything, and then like yeah. It was awesome. I thanks for mentioning that. Thanks a lot.
The equivalent of throwing the silver axe into the lake to get the gold axe. That's the prize card.
Anyway, yeah. If anyone wants to donate some replacement cards, no, I'm just joking. We're fine.